Welcome to the Ultimate Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese's Rebooted Guide, also known as the FNACECR Guide. That's a lot of letters, isn't it? In this video, I will cover everything about the game. In my past guides, I'd only cover the max modes, but for this game, I want to get in depth with all of its gameplay and all in one video. No more part 2s. But without further ado, let's begin the guide. So to start things off, let's talk about the FNACECR Quality of Life mod, made by Spawn Rusher. This mod contains lots of additional settings to make the game overall better and more enjoyable. In the menu on the bottom right, you have the technical wiki, which takes you to the wiki page of this game. In this page, there are a lot of information about each of the animatronics, how they work, and many other things. There's even a strategy section so you can learn how to beat True Nightmare and... oh. There's also the Save Editor tab where you can modify the game's progression state to unlock all the features of the game right off the bat. This tab is really nice because you can instantly unlock True Nightmare, whereas in the base game, you have to beat all the custom night presets before True Nightmare is available to be played. On the bottom of the menu screen, you can also change the game's version. The current version is version 1.2.1, but you can choose to play on 1.1.1 and 1.0.2. Unfortunately, this guide will not cover these earlier versions, simply because I haven't played them. But if I ever decide to play True Nightmare on those patches, I will explain the changes in those videos. Now, the best thing the Quality of Life mod adds is the extra settings in the options menu. There are many settings you can change, but the most important ones are the faster load times, costume info, and power info. There's also a sneaky cheats tab on the top right where you can turn on debug features during the night, which are really useful to learn exactly how the animatronics behave. Obviously, you can't have any of these on during your completion of the max mode. Last thing I want to mention is that when you download this mod, you might get a bug where you can't click on the options menu and the selection seems a little drunk. All you have to do to fix this is click on New Game and beat Night 1, or die. Or alternatively, go in the Save Editor and change first time to 1. Now, let's finally get to the main game. Night 1 is obviously the easiest night. The only animatronic active is Chuck E. Cheese at 10 AI. For more efficiency, I'll call him Old Chuck. Old Chuck is very simple. He starts on the portrait in front of you when the night starts. After a certain amount of time, he will leave that portrait and start roaming around the building until he reaches the gate behind you. Once he arrives, he will play these sound cues.
Hi there. Happy birthday to you. Say cheese. I will not be replaced.
Once the sound cue starts playing, you gotta shut the gate and wait until he's gone. I'm not gonna get into any specific intervals and timers yet because the AI will vary a lot throughout the nights. But as long as you have it shut for 3 seconds, you should be good for the rest of the nights. But yeah, that's literally all for Night 1. It's almost as free as FNAF 3's first night. Once you beat the first night and every subsequent night, you get into a minigame with Krusty the Cat. This is basically fun with Plush Trap from FNAF 4. As in, once you beat it, you get 2 hours off the next night. What you have to do in this minigame is find the items listed on the top left while keeping Krusty the Cat away with your flashlight. If you click on the wrong item, you'll get a strike, and if you run out of strikes, Krusty the Cat will jump scare you. I'll be honest, I don't really know how Krusty works here, and apparently no one else does, so just find the items and check behind your back every now and then, and you should be good. As for Night 2, we now get introduced to Jasper and Costume. Jasper, after leaving the portrait, will appear in your office. The lights will start flickering and a shock noise will play. Once he's there, you have to hit the stage call button on your desk and hold it until he's gone.
Me, that's a sign that they're ready to retire. Just finish your shift. If any of the other characters keep you
If you fail to do it in time, Jasper will disappear and eventually jump scare you. Again, not gonna get into any specific intervals yet because of the varying AI. Costume is the Chester of this game. If you're not familiar with FNAF 1 but better's Chester, you basically have to watch him on the cameras to slow down his progression to the next one. Allowing him to reach your door would result in a power out. Costume is pretty much that, except there's a few more mechanics. Caution will appear in channel 4 and will move in this order. Channel 4, 5, 3, 1, 2. While watching him, his timer to move to the next channel actually increases, meaning that he will take longer to progress. Once you leave the camera system, that timer will start decreasing. Kashim has another mechanic which makes him way scarier than Chester. If you don't have the cameras set to the same channel as Kashim and you leave the cameras, Kashim will progress way faster, making him a menace, especially in the custom nights. Once Kashim reaches your gate, if you try to close the gate, he will hold it open, meaning that any animatronic that comes from there will certainly get you. In Night 3, Mr. Munch is the only new animatronic. Mr. Munch starts with a portrait as well, and once he's gone, he has a 50% chance to play a voice line indicating his attack. Otherwise, he will simply be silent, though keep in mind that every animatronic that has a portrait makes this noise once they leave. So that means you can still know when Mr. Munch has left or not. Once he's gone, he will be in one of the 5 channels. Simply find where he is and he will go back to the portrait. You don't even have to stare at him until he leaves, just one frame with the cameras on him will do it. Though keep in mind that when an animatronic moves in the cameras, you get a static and the message signal lost for about 0.4 seconds. So if you click on the channel Mr. Munch is at, but you get the signal lost exactly at that time, it will only count as watching him after that signal loss ended. So try not to switch channels too fast. Night 4 is when Helen appears. Helen will move through the cameras after leaving the portrait, and once she gets to your office, a breathing sound will be heard. Once you hear that noise, the next time you turn around to the gate, Helen will enter the office. After turning back to the desk, Helen will be seen at either the left or right side of the screen and will kill you if nothing is done. To send her away, simply play the stage call. Now, for Night 5, in this night, the last animatronic that gets introduced is Pasquale. Pasquale's mechanic is simple. After closing the cameras, he has a chance to start tweaking out in his portrait. To deal with him, you gotta hit the stage call button for at least a frame and they'll get back to normal. Now, I don't know what the dev was thinking, but bro is literally at AI level 3 in this night, he barely even appears. So, even though you can use the save editor to unlock the custom night right away, I recommend you go through the base 5 nights to get a feel for the game and learn the characters. These nights are really easy, but it's still nice to get some experience before heading into the custom night, and you'll see why. Now it's time for the custom nights. This is when the game gets good. After clicking on the custom night button, you get taken into the custom night menu, and right away you can see there are 4 locked slots in addition to the first 6 animatronics we've already seen. Yes, there are new animatronics exclusive to the custom night of this game. But to unlock them, you have to beat each of the challenge presets you're given. At first, the only preset you'll get is Nightmare, which is all of the base game animatronics at 20 AI. This challenge isn't particularly difficult. The only real issue you might find yourself in is having Jasper and Old Chuck sync up, making it really tight to deal with both of them without dying. Please. No! Bro, what the f? That's so unfair! In most situations, you want to deal with Jasper first, then Old Chuck. After being Nightmare, you unlock all rats and the new animatronic Modern. Modern is basically another Old Chuck, except he appears more often and doesn't need the gate to be fully closed to be dealt with. This animatronic is a bit complicated, so I'll just hold off on it for a moment. As for the All Rats challenge, this challenge is a joke. Just watch Caution until you hear anything behind you and close the gate. It's that simple. Beating that challenge unlocks the Originals and Bear, who is our blank for this game. Also gonna hold off on him because he's the most complicated character in this game. Completing the Originals unlocks Double Trouble and Munch Jr., or how Frogger likes to call him, Purple Pickle. After closing the cameras, Munch Jr. will appear at a random corner of the office. It could be at the front or the back of the office. To deal with him, you simply click on him and he will go away. If you don't click on him and enter the cameras, the next time you leave, he will appear on top of the monitor, essentially locking your cameras forever. Once you beat Double Trouble, which is free, you'll unlock Pizza Party, Cheesy Challenge, and the main attraction, True Nightmare. Oh, and Dolly. Dolly is fairly simple. She appears in front of your desk and will play a song. You must charge her piano's power to prevent it from shutting off by holding control. You can only charge it when you're looking towards the desk, so not in the cameras or while looking at the gate. If the piano gets to 0%, she will eat the stage call button, and you're basically just gonna lose. So finally, we've arrived at True Nightmare, the max mode of CECR. But before getting into the challenge itself, it's time to really explain how these animatronics work. Knowing how each of them work in detail is crucial for beating this mode. So let's start with Old Chuck. Keep in mind, all the intervals I'll talk about are for the 20 AI version of the animatronics. If you want the intervals and timers for more specific AI levels, the technical wiki has all the equations for their movement opportunities and kill timers. Old Chuck takes from 6 seconds to 8 seconds to move between each channel. He will reach your gate in his third movement, so the time it takes for him to appear is from 18 to 24 seconds. His first appearance will be delayed by 4 seconds because at the start of the night, he takes 4 seconds to leave the portrait. As soon as he reaches the gate, you'll have 10 seconds to close the gate before he jump scares you. Though closing the gate takes 4 seconds, so it's more like 6 seconds. Once the gate is fully closed, he will leave after 2 frames, so basically instantly. Old Chuck will actually leave if the gate is 70% closed and his 10-second kill timer ends.
Hi there.
So if you got in a sticky situation and feel like you won't have time for Old Chuck, this mechanic might save you. Next up is Jasper. Jasper will take 4 seconds to leave the portrait, and after that he will move every 6 to 9 seconds. He will reach the office after the second movement, meaning that Jasper will appear from 12 to 18 seconds. Once he's in your office, he will wait 4 seconds for the player to hit the stage call button. Jasper will disappear after 81 frames of holding the stage call. If you fail to deal with Jasper, he will jump scare the player from 4 to 8 seconds later. Keep in mind that if you hold the stage call button and his kill timer ends, Jasper will actually leave early, and you don't actually have to hold it for 81 frames. So you can do something called Jasper stalling, which is basically stalling Jasper until the last second and hitting the stage call so that he leaves as late as possible. This is used for watching Costume more efficiently. Now for Costume. Costume will appear in channel 4 after around 4 to 5 seconds since the night started. His path until he reaches your gate is channel 4, 5, 3, 1, 2, office. Once Costume spawns in, a timer will start running, which represents the time it'll take for him to move to the next channel. This timer ranges from 4,000 to 5,000. If you have the channel he's currently in selected, this timer will increase by 5 every frame. You don't need to be in the cameras for this to happen. However, when you are not on the cameras or don't have this channel selected, this timer will decrease by 8 instead. So if you have this channel selected but aren't in the cameras, the timer will increase by 5 and decrease by 8, meaning that it'll actually decrease by 3 in that specific situation. So always make sure to have Costume channel selected at all times. Once this timer reaches 0, he will move to the next channel, where this timer will reset to a random value from 4,000 to 5,000 again. The next character is Mr. Munch. Munch will leave the portrait at the beginning of the night after 4 seconds and will wait for the player to find him for 11 seconds before jump scaring them. After he's been dealt with, he will break out of the portrait again after a range from 10.1 to 11.6 seconds. There is one catch though. Every animatronic breaks out of their portrait in 4-second intervals, so Munch won't actually leave at that specific time, only at the next 4-second interval. Now it's time for Helen. Like everyone else, she also takes 4 seconds to break out of the portrait. Once she's out, she will move every 6 to 7 seconds. She will reach the office on her second movement, meaning that she can take from 12 to 14 seconds to appear. Once she's inside, her kill timer will only start once you turn around to the gate and then back. She gives 5 seconds to play the stage call for 81 frames before jump scaring the player. Pasquale is simple. He picks a random number between 1 and 40, and when the player leaves the cameras, if this number is less or equal to his AI, he will activate. So basically a 50% chance every time you leave the cameras. Once he's active, you have 1 second to hit the stage call button. If you fail to do so, he will disappear and jump scare you after your random time from 4 to 8 seconds. Now it's time for the custom night exclusive animatronics. Modern, like I mentioned before, is another old Chuck. He moves in the cameras every 2 to 3 seconds. After 10 seconds, Modern will get to what we call a ready state. Once he reaches this ready state, after every movement opportunity, he has a 1 in 5 chance to go to the gate. So yes, this means exactly what you're thinking. With good enough luck, Modern could not appear at the gate at all. Once he's at the gate, he will play this sound cue. Keep in mind that any other noise that he makes, like this laugh, means nothing. Along with the sound cue, Modern will start a kill timer at 2000. Every frame, this timer will decrease by 5, meaning that he takes 6.67 seconds to kill the player. While the gate is closing, this timer will decrease by 14 instead. Modern will leave once his timer reaches 0 and the gate is in the closing or fully closed state. If the timer reaches 0 and the gate is opened, he will jump scare the player. So basically, closing the gate on Modern speeds up his timer and you don't have to close the gate fully to get rid of him. You can even wait as long as possible and only start closing the gate on the last frame and still survive. The only thing that matters is the gate's state when the timer reaches 0. Now we've reached Bear. This animatronic is very complicated and confusing, but I'll try my best to explain it. Bear starts at your gate sitting down, and after 18 to 20 seconds, he will stand up. Once he's up, you have to flash your light on him 9 times. Bear gives you around 8.5 seconds to do this, or else he will kill you the next time you flash your light or after 8 to 20 seconds. It's important to note that every flash on Bear increases his kill timer by 0.77 seconds. So if you ever get in the situation where you have to close the gate and Bear is about to attack, consider flashing the light 1 or 2 times real quick and then closing the gate. One weird thing about Bear is that once he stands up, he will sit down after 15 seconds exactly. After his first appearance, he will stand up between 33 to 35 seconds later every time from now on. You might notice something about this character. His stand-up times can be 1 second early or 1 second late, meaning that at later points in the night, if you get too many of these offsets, Bear can become very early or very late, which is really annoying to deal with. Thankfully, like with Blank and FNAF but better, we got a strategy for this one too. This is when I present you the FNAF timer. The FNAF timer is basically a better life split. With this timer, you can set up to 3 different timers and also set up intervals to deal with animatronics like Bear. Funnily enough, this timer was originally made for CECR, so by downloading it, you already have it perfectly set up for Bear with all his intervals. To deal with his offsets, all you have to do is, in-game, notice if Bear stood up earlier or later than his current interval, and press Q to offset the timer -1 for when he's early, and E to offset it +1 when he's late. This timer also has a warning feature where 3 seconds before Bear's interval, the interval on the timer will start flashing red and play a warning sound too. All of this can be customized the way you prefer it, and you can change the intervals to suit other animatronics, not just for Bear. This also means that this timer could be used for Blank as well. But we're past that point already, and I didn't know about this timer back then, so my bad. A good thing about this timer is that to reset the timer, all you have to do is press R, which is also the reset night button for the game, so you can sync up the game and the timer very easily. Munch Jr. is fairly simple, and my explanation earlier is basically all you need to know. The only thing that is kind of worth noting is that Munch Jr. will always appear after closing the cameras on 20 AI. Dolly's piano charges by 1% every 0.1 second that the control key is held down. If her piano isn't getting charged, it loses 1% charge every 0.3 seconds. So to charge her piano fully, it takes 10 seconds, and for it to die from 100%, it takes 30 seconds. This is nice information I guess, but to be honest, just hold control down the entire night. And that's all the animatronics explained in great detail. With this information, all you're gonna need to beat True Nightmare now is experience and speed. So now it's time to go through the max mode of this game, True Nightmare. I'm dead. Ah, man. What? There's no way he jumped the cancer already. Wait. Okay, well, he's at my gates. That's fun. Like, how? Oh, shit. Okay, bro. I literally, last time I saw him, he was on channel 4, man. Like, bro, he is sprinting. Is he literally at my door? I literally just saw him on cam 2. How do I fucking beat this? No. Yes, dude! At the start of the night, wait for about 3 seconds and then quickly enter the camera system and go to channel 4. You want to do this just before Mr. Munch spawns. The reason why is because we are going to be stalling Mr. Munch to the very last second, and we don't want to accidentally find him as we go into the cameras. Mr. Munch can appear in all the channels, and when you enter cams, the default channel is channel 1. So by going to channel 4 beforehand, we can turn this 2 in 5 chance of accidentally getting him into a 1 in 5 chance. If he spawns on channel 4 anyway, you can either restart the night or continue from there. But keep in mind that Mr. Munch will be way more annoying to deal with and will be spawning just before Old Chuck, so you'll need great speed to be able to survive. If you do get to stall him though, wait until about 11 to 12.5 seconds and quickly find him. Mr. Munch has this mechanic where if Old Chuck or Modern are at the gate, he cannot break out of the portrait even if his interval is up. So by doing this stalling, we are making sure Mr. Munch only leaves after Old Chuck, making the night less RNG overall. After that, just wait on channel 4 until you hear either Modern or Jasper appear. If Modern appears, then you're gonna deal with them, deal with Jasper, and then flash Bear. But before that, you want to start closing the gate on Old Chuck. This is called Old Chuck predicting, and it's basically closing the gate before he appears so that when he does spawn, the gate is 90% closed and it'll take like half a second to fully close the gate and deal with Old Chuck. If Modern didn't appear, then just wait until Jasper spawns. Once he does, get off the cams and sync him up with Helen. Helen will most likely appear at this point, so what you want to do is you want to turn around and then turn back and hit the stage call. This will deal with Jasper and Helen at the same time, syncing them up for the rest of the night. Once that's done, find Munch Jr. and get back in the cams. Now, at this point Mr. Munch will have left again, so stall him again and repeat the cycle. I say cycle, but really the only moment that this is going to feel like a cycle is in the first minute of the night. Since Modern is RNG and so is Jasper, you might not get the chance to stall Mr. Munch. So here's where speed comes into play. Being able to quickly find Munch in the cameras and having the least downtime possible in the office is key to be able to beat this night. One quick tip I can give is, once you deal with Jasper, Helen, and Old Chuck, all of them will leave in the next 4-second interval. So if Munch is installed, you can know when he's left by hearing the portrait breaking sound, since it'll be way later than everyone else's. This is if he didn't play the obvious sound cue, of course. That way, you don't have to stop watching Costume to check for Mr. Munch. With all of this in mind, practice and practice, make sure to not forget Bear, and you should be able to beat True Nightmare. Yes, dude! And that's all you need to know to complete True Nightmare. But like with most fan games, just setting everyone to 20 most of the times isn't the hardest thing you can do in the game. There are always modifiers that make it way worse. In this game, it isn't any different. There are 3 challenges that you can add to make the game more difficult. But before we get into those, I'd like to take some time to explain the known bugs of this game. The reason why I'm dedicating a part of the guide for this is because some of the bugs in CECR are actually very game changing and can help a lot or straight up make you lose the night, so they have to be addressed. Now, let's start with the biggest one, the gate bug. What's up guys? Luffuu here, live Luffuu. Well, live as in like no script, no anything. I'm gonna be explaining the gate bug. It's very simple actually. All you have to do, so you see this UK flag next to Helen. Basically, there's like the hitbox of the gate is like right here of the lever, and if you try to like pull it from here, for some reason, I don't know exactly why, if you try to pull the lever from here and go all the way down at this spot, it's gonna like grab the lever even though, you know, you're not looking at the gate, because you can see like the hitbox aligns, right? The hitbox around here, the levers around here, you get what I mean, right? So if you pull it from here and then go all the way down to here, it's gonna pull the lever. So check this out. So you have to go about here where my cursor is for it to actually count as pulling it down. Because like I grab the lever if I do this. Wait. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I grab the lever. You see I have the lever grabbed because you heard the noise. And if I go down a little bit more, I pull it down. And just like that, we close the gate fully. If I turn around, you can see the gate is opening. It's pretty crazy. Now for the gate bug in the cameras. This one's a little more complicated, but it's not that bad. So basically, like in the cameras, let's select channel 4 for an example, because usually you're gonna be in this channel for costume. The hitbox is like around here, basically. The hitbox is around here, and you can see how the camera pans around. This actually matters. So when it pans to the left, then you have to move your cursor to the right because the hitbox is going to be moving. I can actually go real quick and activate hitboxes and I can show you. So yeah, now I have the hitbox enabled. You can see the hitbox right here that I was talking about. This is the regular gate bug. Very simple. It's actually pretty like forgiving. Like once you have it pulled down, it's just like you can see how I'm moving around and I'm still like holding the lever. Like sometimes it's like pulling it back, but I still have it held. In fact, I'm not even holding. I just noticed, I actually didn't know this, but I'm not even holding mouse. Like it's just auto pulling it down. In the cameras, you can see how the hitbox is like moving, right? Because of the camera panning around. So what you have to do is you have to do the regular gate bug, and you also have to like move your cursor as the hitbox is moving itself, right? So basically, you're gonna do this, click on the cameras, and then hold the hitbox. And you can see how it lashed off. I lost the gate there. And that's because the camera moved around and it didn't move my cursor with it. So let's wait until it pans still all the way over here, and now I'm gonna do the gate bug real quick. See, I now have it. And now I have to like move with the hitbox, kind of. Now the hitbox won't actually move, so you just have to like, you need to have a feel. It's only moving because I'm moving my cursor. But you just need to have a feel for like the speed at which the camera pans. And then you just have to move with it. So this entire time the gate is closed. So if I drop it, just like that, the gate closed. So yeah, this glitch is like pretty difficult to pull off, like in the run, but if you can do it. So yeah, if you can do it, it's very good. Like you get to like pretty much just watch costume while not having to worry about any of the animatronics that go to the gate, right? Old Chuck and Mott, basically. Thank you, not live, Luffuu. So yeah, that was the gate bug. It's a very powerful glitch that allows you to get insane costume stalling during the night. On to the next bug, and this is a very annoying one, the Helen bug. With aggressive turned on, Helen has this weird bug where if you just made her go away and you turn around, If Helen spawns again and immediately gets in the office, she will jump scare you. This is especially annoying if you get a situation where you're forced to spawn Helen because of old Chuck, then right after Jasper appears, so you're forced to deal with Helen, then you have to turn around again for Munch Jr. or Bear. This glitch will only occur with the aggressive challenge on, because of the way it changes Helen, but I'll get to that once I start talking about the challenges. So those are the most important bugs you have to know about. There are other ones, but these two are especially useful for every player trying to go further with the game. Now, let's talk about the 3 challenges in CECR: Aggressive, Power Mode, and Long Nights. I'll start with Long Nights since it's the simplest one. Long nights make the nights, long. Yes, I made the same joke as in my last guide. But it's because there's not much to be said. Though compared to Sister Location Super Custom Night, the long nights in this game are way worse. A normal night takes 6 minutes to be completed. With Long Nights active, the nights now take 12 whole minutes. This challenge is especially bad because of Bear's offsetting potential. With more Bear intervals to worry about, the worse his offset can get. Power Mode is a funny one. Power Mode makes it so vision costs power. You begin with 500 power. At the start of the night, the lights are going to be on, but that wastes a lot of power, so by pressing spacebar, you can turn off the lights and make the office completely dark. And yes, you're literally staring at a black screen for most of the night, because while the lights are on, power drains by 0.11% per frame. So in total, you have 1 minute and 15 seconds of vision during the night. Now for the big one, Aggressive. What Aggressive does is it changes all of the animatronics to make them overall more aggressive. You can compare this to Hyper from Sister Location Super Custom. And like Hyper, this challenge changes the entire True Nightmare strategy. But before getting into that, I'll explain all the changes the challenge makes. The first general thing is that Jasper, Old Chuck, Helen, and Munch will immediately leave the portrait as the night starts. Old Chuck now won't make any sound cues when he reaches the gate, and if he's at the gate and the player lets go of the lever, he will instantly jump scare them. Last change, which is the biggest one in my opinion, is that even if the gate is 70% closed, he will still jump scare the player no matter what. For him to be dealt with, the gate has to be fully closed. Jasper now requires the full 81 frames of the stage call to disappear, meaning that if you hit the stage call just before his kill timer ends, he will simply jump scare you anyway. Jasper also does not work on 4-second intervals anymore, which means that he will now break out of the portrait after 2 to 3 seconds. Caution will send Old Chuck to jump scare the player if he reaches the gate. There are some ways to delay this to happen, but basically, you're dead. Mr. Munch now also doesn't work in 4-second intervals, meaning that he actually leaves the portrait from 10.1 to 11.6 seconds, making Munch stalling a bit more strict. He also no longer says his voice line when he's gone. Helen will now instantly get in the office once she's out of the portrait, which means that every 2 to 3 seconds, she'll be ready to attack. This is also the reason why the Helen bug happens, though I don't know exactly how. Pasquale was supposed to always activate once you leave cams, but he's bugged and will only appear the first time you close the camera system. This is actually quite a blessing because it saves a bit of time during sticky situations. Modern no longer has a 1 in 5 chance to appear at the gate once he reaches his ready state, which means that he will always appear after around 10 seconds have passed. Modern has that same mechanic as Old Chuck, where if you let go of the lever while he's at the gate, he will instantly jump scare you. He also doesn't make a sound cue when you flash your light on him, but no one cares. What matters is the noise he makes when he arrives, and thankfully that hasn't been muted as well. Bear has probably the most useless change out of them all. If you fail to flash Bear enough and his kill timer ended, he now instantly jump scares the player instead of waiting like he used to. Pretty useless. Munch Jr. has a similar change as Bear. If you fail to find him, the next time you close cams, Mr. Munch will jump scare you. Also pretty useless since not finding Munch Jr. pretty much means game over anyway. Dolly, like Munch Jr. and Bear, also has a useless change. When her piano runs out, Jasper will jump scare the player. And that's all the aggressive changes. Now, before we get to the main attraction, TNAC, let's talk about True Nightmare Aggressive. The main difference between aggressive and regular True Nightmare is that costume is way more strict, plus Jasper and Munch become way more annoying to deal with. But worry not, because this is a guide made for helping after all, so it's not going to be any different than that. Before even getting into the strategy, there are 2 things which are very important to get out of the way first: the Chuck timer and Jasper cycles. The Chuck timer is very simple. Since Chuck is completely silent on aggressive, the Chuck timer will be used to track his intervals so you can know exactly when you'll show up. To set it up, Simply turn on the second timer in the FNAF timer, and then every time you close the gate for Chuck, reset that timer when the gate hits the ground. Now for Jasper cycles. Jasper can be a big pain on aggressive due to how often he can appear while you're closing the gate, creating an impossible to survive scenario. So to decrease the chance of this happening, the Jasper cycle was created. Jasper has 4 appearances before completing one cycle. Those are after Modern, before Modern, after Chuck, and before Chuck. You can use these timestamps with the Chuck timer to really predict when he'll appear, but just keeping track of the character timestamps is good enough. What these timestamps mean is when you're supposed to deal with Jasper. So in the case of after Modern, you want to fend off Jasper after dealing with Modern. Then he'll move to before Modern, which means you want to fend him off before Modern. Keep in mind that Jasper's interval is random, so if Jasper decides to spawn too quickly, he might skip one of these timestamps. To deal with this, all you have to do is just remember to move ahead one timestamp on the Jasper cycle. For an example, if Jasper appeared after Modern, then after Chuck, the next appearance will be before Chuck. Now, when you start the night, you want to find Munch immediately. If you stall him like in True Nightmare, it won't work out since he instantly leaves the portrait unaggressive. Then after that, wait until Modern appears. Once he does, fend him off, get Jasper, and go back into camps. Remember to always find Munch Jr. before going back to costume. Once in camps, find Munch again when he spawns, then wait until 22 seconds on the Chuck timer and flash Bear, then close the gate for Chuck. Now Jasper will move to the before Modern timestamp, so get back into camps as fast as possible and find Munch. Jasper can be a bit of a troll here and spawn too soon, so make sure to be as fast as possible finding Munch. Once that's done, get Jasper, then Modern, and go back into cams until the next Munch appearance. Get Munch again, close the gate on Chuck, flash Bear, and get ready for the third cycle. In this cycle, Jasper will appear after Chuck, so as soon as you close the gate, get ready for him to appear. After dealing with Jasper, this is when you'll want to Munch stall. To do this, simply wait until around 10 seconds on the Chuck timer and find Munch in the cameras. Modern will spawn while you're waiting, so just be patient and don't panic. Modern gives a lot of time before jump scaring you, so you're allowed to wait here. After Munch stalling successfully, Mr. Munch's next appearance will only be after Chuck, giving you a ton of time to watch costume. Jasper's next timestamp is before Chuck, so remember to deal with Jasper before closing the gate on Chuck this time. And that's the general cycle of the night on aggressive. Thankfully, because of Modern's change, aggressive mode actually turns True Nightmare into a cyclic night, though be careful because of Jasper's RNG and Bear as well. Now for the grand finale, True Nightmare All Challenges, or TNAC for short. This mode is the true hardest challenge in CECR, with its first victor only appearing 2 years after the game's release. This mode is currently ranked number 15 on the max mode list. But don't think that makes it easy. This used to be the hardest max mode ever created, and was even deemed impossible before it got its first victor. So let's explain how to beat this challenge. True Nightmare All Challenges is basically True Nightmare Aggressive, but you can't see anything and the night is now 12 minutes long. Since I've already explained the cycle of the night, here are some tips for the other challenges. Power mode can be very strict, so make sure to only use the lights to find Munch Jr., flash Bear, and seeing where costume is in the cameras. Also make sure to only flick the lights to not waste too much power per use. The only issue with long nights, apart from the consistency, is Bear and costume. Since Bear has basically doubled the intervals before the night ends, the chance of him offsetting by a great amount is way higher. So make sure to check every now and then for Bear when his interval is up to see if he's early or late. Then adjust his interval on the FNAF timer like explained before. As for costume, you now have to stall him for 12 minutes instead of 6, and he does not get any slower to balance it out. So here's some costume stalling tips that will make it way easier to keep him at channel 4 or 5 for a long time. 1. This goes without saying, but anytime you're not doing anything, you're going to use that time to watch costume. As soon as you deal with whatever threats came your way, instantly go to the camera system and start building up his timer. 2. When Munch spawns, the time you spend finding him will count as not being in costume's camera, which means his timer will decrease way faster. So to mitigate this issue, you'll want to do what is called hybrid checking. This consists of alternating between whichever cameras you're checking to find Munch and costume's camera. It'll look like something like this. He might run, or ran even. 3. Be greedy with Modern. Since Modern leaves even if the gate isn't fully closed, you can stall Modern as long as you need to get some extra time watching Costume. This should be done whenever possible, and it's a game changer for keeping Costume at bay. And last tip, be fast in the office. The worst thing that can happen in this game is taking too long in the office and coming back to the cameras only to see Costume going from channel 4 to 1. So make sure that you're going as fast as you can whenever you're out of the cameras. I recommend you take a CPS test, which is a test for your clicks per second, so you can have an estimate of how long you take to flash Bear 9 times. That way you won't overflash him and waste time. And that's pretty much it. On paper it doesn't look that bad, but it's way harder than it seems. So the best thing you can do to eventually beat this mode is practice. Power mode is going to be the biggest problem since you're basically having to navigate through the cameras in office without seeing anything. But with enough time and attempts put into it, you'll have completed True Nightmare all challenges.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I did it! I did all challenges! 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 I did all challenges!
With that, we've reached the end of the ultimate FNAC ECR guide. This is quite the lengthy one since I tried to cover everything of the game and all in one video. I'd like to shout out Kingpin Weeks and Firefuel for helping me with the making of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, consider liking and subscribing to my channel. These videos take a lot of effort, so your support will help me to continue making them. Last thing, I have a Discord server that I never really talked about in my videos, so I'm gonna plug it here too. There you can hang out with others from the Max Mode community, ask for help with any Max Mode, and receive notifications of when I go live on Twitch and whenever a new video is out. If you're interested, the invite link is in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next chapter of my Max Moding journey.